If you aren't clear about who you want to serve, who you want to bring together, then the reality is that they don't know that your thing is for them. And if somebody doesn't know that your thing is for them, that is why 99.9% of people fail. As business owners, as entrepreneurs, as community designers, that's the place to focus. Hi, I'm Gina Bianchini, and this is People Magic, where I show you the easiest way to create a $1 million digital business that you can be proud of. Let's get started.
Hi, Gina. I want to build a community for my brand, but frankly, my brand isn't doing so well. I have no idea if building a community is the thing that will save it, but the longer I wait for things to change, the worse it becomes. So my question is, how long do I give my community to be profitable?
So first of all, I am so glad you're asking this question because you are not alone. And what I hear in the question is, can I use a community to take the business that I have or the brand that I have that is struggling, or even the idea that I have that's struggling, it's not really working, like, how could I use People Magic to make something that is not quite fitting or not quite working and make it amazing? Actually, even short of amazing, make it something that starts to work. I should probably ask you 15 other questions about, okay, well, so what's the brand? What's it for? What's working today? What's not working? Where do you think you're struggling? And all of those questions are actually really important. So step one is I want to encourage you to have a little bit of that retrospective, to be able to take a snapshot right now of, okay, what are the things that are working? What are the things that aren't working? Here's the first thing that I would be listening for. And so you can actually do this yourself. Number one, do I have clarity around who I want to serve? So that could be who your brand serves today, or it's about taking who you think your brand is serving today and getting much clearer about who they are, what transition that they are going in. And if you can't answer the question, what transition they're going through, that is the place to start. So I wish there was sort of a way or a gate that says the clearer that you are with the transition of the people that you are building your brand for, the more likely it is that you are going to be successful. And more importantly, not just successful with a community, but successful with building your brand. Because what is a brand? You know, a lot of people have a lot of different things that they say, but fundamentally it's a brand is how you make people feel, the identity that they have, and what they say about your product or service when you are not in the room. So what you want to think about is, how could I take my struggling brand and get clearer about who wants and needs it the most right now, where right now is in all caps? It's yelling at you, because that level of motivation is the most important thing. So once you have crystallized the transition that maybe it's your super customers or your super consumers. Even if it's one person, who's the one person who loves your brand the most right now and why? And listening for why, not because it's making their life better or that they like how it makes them feel or that it's helping them solve this one problem, but listen for the transition that they're in. And if they're not in a transition, figure out who are the people who are in a transition that are similar to your super consumers. Who can you bring together to help each other achieve results and transformation they cannot get on their own? Navigate a transition in a way that they cannot navigate on their own. And when you have that, you are going to have the most motivated people on planet Earth. They are going to be motivated not just to buy your product or service, to join your membership, take your course, participate in your challenge, or attend your event. They are going to be the most excited to meet and build relationships with each other in the context of your brand. So that's why I want you to stay there. And then once you have your person in a transition, then you move on to step 2, which is, okay, how can my community, how can my brand help those people who are in a transition, my ideal member or my ideal customer, have their best year ever? And you get those 2 things right, everything else falls into place. And the reason I focus so much on this for you in terms of the question around, well, how long do I stick with it? Or how do I make sure that it's profitable? All of the answers to those questions come out of, have you found people who are in that transition? Because once you have that, everything gets easier. And if you aren't clear about who you want to serve, who you want to bring together, then the reality is that they don't know that your thing is for them. And if somebody doesn't know that your thing is for them, that is why 99.9% of people fail. As business owners, as entrepreneurs, as community designers, that's the place to focus. Do not pass go. Do not move on until you have the people that are the most motivated to join and build your community with you, which also goes to join and build your brand together. So then there's the question of, how long do you give it for it to become profitable? And here's what I want to propose. You should be building this to be profitable early on. And what does that mean? So number 1, it means make sure that the investment that you're making, your time is probably the thing that you are investing in this. And it should be the main investment. For example, on the software side or on, the tech stack side, there are absolutely plans, for example, that we have at Mighty Networks that are designed to make sure that you are not spending a ton of money before you are able to charge and create something that's profitable. It's one of the reasons why, we make People Magic free, because we want you day one to see the power and the value of how to do this in the least painful, most profitable way possible. That's why we call it People Magic Profit. So you want to be really careful that you also are not buying 47,000 courses or spending a ton of money in advance to try to find the next framework or the framework that is going to be the answer to all of your problems. What you want to do is figure out, how do you take, just again, these 9 simple concepts that we are offering for free in this podcast, because I want you to be profitable day one. I want you to be profitable day one. So maybe the investment that you're making is, again, $49 a month. And what you can do with $49 a month plus this masterclass and podcast, you should be able to be profitable very quickly. And if you're not, send me a note. Let's figure out how to make sure that you can become profitable day one or week one. But you should not be making a huge investment when you don't have clarity around who are the people that you serve, what is their best year ever, and how are you getting better and better at pitching your big purpose. We bring together, and then who your ideal member is, so that we can achieve results and transformation that you can't get on your own. You do those things, people pay attention to what they pay for. So now let's shift to, what are the best kinds of communities for brands? So if you have a brand that you sell a product or service and you want to create essentially a companion community, what are the best kinds of brands to be able to take advantage of that? So a couple of thoughts on that. So number 1, it's not just about a community in the traditional social media sense of your audience. What you want to look for is not I talk out at you, you talk back at me, but no one's talking to each other. So fundamentally, in the definition of community that I am putting out there, it's about creating people magic. And people magic is making the connections between your followers, between your audience, between your customers. And why are your customers wanting to meet and build relationships with each other? Well, sometimes it's because they want to talk about your product or service, but most of the time it's about where your product or service lives in their life. So you might want them and all of the people in your community to be talking about your product or service, but what you really want them to be doing is building relationships with people who are like them on the same path, where your product or service is the ingredient into the goals that they have and the results and transformation that they want to create in their lives with each other. It's a pretty important distinction. So what does that mean? It means understanding who your customer is. Who are the people who are your super consumers, the people who would get a tattoo of your brand? And what is their hope, their dream, their fears and misconceptions? What is it that your brand can offer in terms of the other people who are on the same path and where your brand fits into their lives? I'm Gina Bianchini. Thanks for tuning in. This is People Magic. Thank you for being a part of People Magic. If you want more of a deep dive in any of these topics, but certainly having the framework of People Magic Profit, head on over to the website. The link is in the show notes. Have your own burning question about creating people magic? Well, I want to answer it. So here's what you're going to do. You're going to just drop your question in the review section wherever you're listening to this podcast and keep tuning in.